We begin today the Gemara on Daf Kuf Amud Aleph, the Mishnah. Sagt the Heilige Mishnah, Hamachlif para b'chamoyer. A person is exchanging a cow for a donkey. And this is one of the ways that you can make a transaction by exchanging two items, or in this case, two animals. And the moment the Bala Para takes the chamoyer into his possession, automatically the Bala Chamoyer acquires in exchange the para, even if he didn't yet get the para into his possession. But when one takes, just like by chalipin, when one picks up the handkerchief, it affects the kinyan automatically. So over here, you don't need both of them to take the animal to their possession. If one of them takes one animal, automatically the other one is acquired to the other. And the reason why that's significant over here is because what happened here, V'yoldad gave birth, and then, as the Mishnah is going to say soon, it's not clear when the birth happened, before the sale or after the sale. So it's not clear who's the owner now of this baby that's born. So Rashi explains, if we were talking about a situation where the kinyan is happening with money, then you can see, and you're there with the animal, and you give the money, so then you know if it was born before or after. But since we're talking about an animal, metaltalin, there's no kinyan of money. And as the Mishnah is saying, in this case, the kinyan was not with Mashiach. If the kinyan, usually by metaltalin, the kinyan is with Mashiach, so you actually bring the cow into your possession, that's when it's yours. So it'd be clear exactly when it was born. But over here, you didn't bring the cow to your possession yet. You just exchanged it with a donkey, and the other person took the donkey, and automatically the cow becomes yours. So now, here there could be a suffix, at what point was the baby born? Or another situation, a person sells a maid, V'yolda, and the maid gave birth. And here, this could actually be with money. And if it's with money, then you could be in another. You can actually get the money in another place, and you don't necessarily see what happened when it gave birth. Let me just correct again. It would be theoretically the same thing when you get to the machlef para b'chamoyer. If it's with money, then it could also be a situation where it's a suffix, because you could be getting the payment of the money in a different location, and you're not there. You don't see exactly when it gave birth. By the para and chamoyer, there is no kinyan of money. By a maid is like the halacha of a shifcha and an eved, you can acquire with money, so it now can become a suffix. So what happens? One of them says, so the seller says, before I sold, that's when it gave birth. So it's mine. The vlad that was born is mine. I only sold you the para itself, for the shivcha itself, but not the baby. And the buyer says, no, I bought this shivcha, I bought this para, and then in my possession it gave birth. So the vlad is mine. In such a case, you have to split it. Another case, a person has two slaves. One is a gadol and one is small, a cotton or younger. So he has two properties, a larger property and a smaller property. And now there was a sale here, and it wasn't clear which one he sold. The buyer argues and says the deal was that I'm buying the larger property or the bigger, the older eved. And the seller says, any idea? I don't know. It's not clear to me. So what happens? Zocha b'gadol. So since the buyer is saying, buddy, I know for a fact that this is the one that you sold me, so then he's zocha in the bigger one, bigger property, the bigger eved. But if it's the opposite, the seller says, kotu macharti, I sold you the smaller eved or the smaller property. And it's the buyer that says that I'm not sure. So then, if he says he doesn't know, cotton, so he gets only the cotton. How about if it's a case where they both are saying a tainis body, they both say with certainty, godel. The buyer says that I bought the larger one, cotton, and the seller says, no, I sold you the smaller one. Yishava hamaycher, so then the seller swears cotton machar, that he sold only the smaller one. And the Gemara is going to explain what the shvua here is. On a simple level, this seems to be a case of Bava Metzia, because he's admitting that I did sell you, but not as large as you say, less, smaller. So therefore he has to swear for this. If they're arguing, and both of them in this case are saying that they don't know if it's the larger or the smaller one, then yachlaiku. Similar to the ratio of the Mishnah, the halach here will be that we split. Okay, so now the Gemara asks on this halacha that the Mishnah says yachloiku. Going back to the first case of the Mishnah, machlef para b'chamayr, and it's not clear when it gave birth. So the Mishnah says, when each one says that each one says it was born in my possession, yachloiku. The Gemara, ma yachloiku. Why should we split it between the seller and the buyer? V'lechzi b'rishus the man kaime. Let us see where the animal is right now, in whose possession it is right now. And v'lehavi yidach hamaitzi michaveiroi olav arayah. The rule is that any time there's an argument between two people regarding any money matter, and one person is a muhsik, it's in his possession, so the other one has to bring a raya to prove that it's his if he wants to take it out of his possession. So let's see in whose property is this car with the vladin. The answer is by medes ba'agam, that the animal is nobody's possession. It's out in a swamp somewhere, in a place which is ownerless. And they're arguing now who does the vlad belong to. So since there's no chazaka for anybody, so therefore you divide it between them. Shivcha nami, and similar regarding the maid. The kaime besimte. The slave, sorry, the maidservant that is in a simta, which is a corner that's near the street, which is not in anybody's private property, and it's there in an open place which no one has a chazaka over the shivcha. But the Gemara still asks, there's another kind of chazaka that we say regarding money matters. V'noikma acheskas or achazaka de marakame. Let's give it to who was the previous owner, which is the meicher. He was the first owner here. So in a case where there's a suffix, and even if there's no one that's presently muhsik in it, but regarding money, any money, regarding karka, regarding the taltlin, you always, in a case of a suffix, go back to who the marakame is, who was the previous owner. He's the one that has the status of a chazaka, of ownership. And the other one that wants to take it out from his previous status, that he's the owner, has to bring the proof to change that. So the Gemara says, Hamani, we must say, who's our Mishnah here? Sumchisi. Our Mishnah is Sumchis. The Amar, Sumchis says, Maman hamutul besafik chelkin. That money, which is in a situation where there's an argument, there's an suffix, who it belongs to, you divide it. And you divide it below shvu, even without anyone swearing about this. And the chiddush here is, Sumchis is saying that you divide this even though there's a chazaka here. Which chazaka? The chazaka of marakame. Nevertheless, you're going to divide it. It's a discussion over here in Taisvis, because if you learn the Gemara simply, it seems like that Sumchis would not agree if one was a muhsik, physically it was in his property, that you would still divide it. The Gemara already established that it's not on anybody's property right now. It's in a agam, it's in a simta. And here, even though there's a chazaka of marakame, Sumchis disregards the chazaka of marakame, and he says that you divide it. But it seems like if there would be a physical chazaka that it's in one's possession, Sumchis would say that you don't divide it. Taisus brings that from the Gemara before, and in many places it's mashma, that Sumchis actually holds Maman Hamutul B'Safik Chalkin, regardless, even if there's a real physical chazaka that one has it in his possession. There's a big discussion in Rishonim about this, exactly when the opinion of Sumchis applies. But now the Gemara asks on this, Medama Sumchis, when did Sumchis say his halacha? When there's a suffix about money that you divide it between the two people, B'Shema, if the two people arguing are themselves unclear what happened. But b'bari, you body, if each one of them is claiming with certainty that it belongs to me Amar, did Sumchis say in such a case that you divide it? Since the muhsik, the marakam, is saying with certainty that it's mine, so that should be strong enough that we should give it to him. And if the other one wants to take it out of his possession, he should have to bring a raya. In such a case, Sumchis agrees. So the Gemara says, no, that's not true. Yes, Sumchis afilu b'bari you body. Sumchis that says that in a case of doubt, you divide the money that's in doubt. That's even in a case where the people here are arguing with tinus of body. They're certain with their tinus. And that's what our Mishnah was speaking about here. A tain of, as it's mashma the lashon of the Mishnah. Zeh oimer and zeh oimer. Each one is saying a tinus body that it's mine, but nevertheless we split it. Rava disagrees and says, the truth is, ki ama sumches shemo shemo. When did Sumchis say that any time there's a doubt about the ownership of the money that you have to divide it, that's only if they don't know. Each one of them is saying, I don't know. Well, body you body. If each one of them would say with certainty that it's mine, lo yama, then Sumchis does not say that you divide it. So now in the words of the Mishnah, you have to learn to the words of the Mishnah, zeh oimer shemo ad shaloi macharti, that the seller says, maybe before I sold, this cow gave birth, so it's mine. And the buyer says, no, maybe it gave birth after I acquired. So you have to add the word shema into the Mishnah. So therefore, the Mishnah is only in a case of Shema. And it makes sense in this kind of case where they're arguing about the sale over here, and it's not clear exactly when it happened, so it makes sense that each one is tiny Shema. Okay, so now the Gemara says, let's see what it says later in the Mishnah. Tanan, the Mishnah in the end says, the last case of the Mishnah, that in a case when they're both arguing, did he sell the larger or the smaller field, and each one says, I don't know, what's the halacha? Yachloiku. You divide it between them. So now, according to Rava's opinion, that says that our Mishnah is Sumchis, and Sumchis says is halacha only regarding a case of Shema v'Shema. So mid the Seifa, Shema v'Shema, just like we see in the Seifa of the Mishnah when it says Yachloiku regarding the case of Gadol and Cotton. So there it spells out clearly that it's only if each one is saying any Yedea. So if that the Seifa is Shema v'Shema, Reisha Nami Shema v'Shema. So it's understood that Sumchis' opinion is only when each one is saying Shema. So the Reisha as well is also when each one is saying, maybe it was born in my possession. In body. But according to Rabbi Baravuna's Pshat in our Mishnah, the beginning of the Mishnah is saying the halacha of Yachloiku, when each one is claiming that definitely it's mine. And there we still say that Yachloiku, we divide it between them. So now hashta bari ama Yachloiku. Now in the Reish of the Mishnah, it tells me the din when there's a bari. So he's screaming with a certainty that it's mine, and you take it away from the Marakama. Even there you say Yachloiku, you split it. Shema v'Shema miboye. So on the end of the Mishnah, where each one says I don't know, so the one that has it, and the one that's the Marakama, that is there's no certainty about his taina himself. So miboye, needless to say, that over there the halacha would be according to Sumchas Yachloiku. Why does the Mishnah have to add that? So from the end of the Mishnah, doesn't that show that Sumchas' opinion is only by Shema? So the Gemara says, if that's your raya, it's not a raya. Why? Because Tanan is Seifa. No, we could say the contrary. The Mishnah brings the last case of Shema and Shema legluya reisha in order to make it clear to you. If you had any doubt what the pshat in the reisha is, once you see what it says in the Seifa, that reveals what the real pshat of the reisha is. Shaloi taima, you shouldn't say like Rava wants to say that reisha Shema v'Shema. The first case of the Mishnah, when they're arguing that over there, each one is saying, I don't know. Aval body, loi, but if they each are saying a definite taina, that it's his, there I wouldn't split it between them. So therefore, Tana Seifa, Shema v'Shema. So the Mishnah brings in the Seifa the halacha of Yachloiku in a case when each one is Shema. And then Meklal, in order to learn out from that. Now we understand the Reisha, body, that in the beginning of the Mishnah, when it says Ze Oimer and Ze Oimer, it means that each one is saying with certainty that it's his. And that Vilach Yachloiku. And still, nevertheless, we're saying that they split it between them according to Sumchis that says that the rule is Maman Amutal B'Safik Yachloiku. Now the Gemara goes to another part of the Mishnah, the middle of the Mishnah. What does the Mishnah say? Tanan Ze'ayim Megadol V'Zayim Mekotten. In the case of where the seller says, or the buyer actually first says, that I bought the larger field. And the seller says, no, I sold you the smaller field. So they're both saying a tainis body. So what did the Mishnah say? Yishava hamaycher. So the seller swears shekatan machar that he sold only the smaller one. So the question is, why is he swearing? If you're saying according to Sumchis, anytime there's an argument regarding money matters, including when there's a tainis body, you split it between them. So why are you saying that the seller here makes a shavua? So the Gemara explains what the question here is. What the Mishnah here says, according to Rav, is understood. The Amma, because Rav says, Ki Amma Sumchis, Shema v'Shema. When did Sumchis say, when there's an argument, that you split it, that's only if none of them know. Aval body, but in a case where each one is saying with certainty that it's his, so then, Lo Yoma, then Sumchis does not say that you split it between them. Mishamachi Yishava. So therefore the seller will swear that he only sold the cotton, and it'll be potter to give more than that. But hello, Rabbi Baravuna the Amar in Amma Sumchas Afilu body, that Sumchas says his rule that you have to split the money that's in doubt, even in a case when each one has a tainis body. Amai Ishava Moiche. Why are you saying that the seller swears? Yachloiku mi boile. Shouldn't the halacha be Yachloiku here? Answers the Gemara, no, in our case, Yachleiku can't apply, because Maida Sumches will agree, Heiche de Ikke Shvua de Iraisa, in a case where the Tainus will obligate the one that's saying, no, I only owe you a cotton. In our case, he says, I only sold you the cotton, not the gadol. Here there's a Shvua min Atayra of Maida b'miktzas, as the Gemara will as the Gemara will explain, because there's a Shvua of Maida b'miktzas, there's no din of Yachleiku here. Here the halacha is totally different. The din of Shvua of Maida b'miktzas applies. So therefore, of course, Sumchas will agree in this case that the halacha is that the Meicher has to swear. Oh, so now that's a continuation of the Gemara. The Gemara is going to spell out exactly over here, different Tefanim, how to explain why Maida b'miktzas applies to here. Let's see. And again, the seller says, I only sold you the small Eved. And the buyer says, no, the larger Eved is mine. So the Mishnah says that you have to swear. So again, on a simple level, the pshat over here is that the Meicher is a Maida b'miktzas. He is admitting that, yeah, there's a certain Eved that I sold you, but not as large as you say. The Eved that you say, a larger Eved that's worth $10,000, no. I sold you only a smaller Eved, which is only worth $8,000. So he's a Maida b'miktzas. That's on a simple level. But the Gemara has a few questions that the Shavua of Maida b'miktzas should not apply here. Ama yishova. Why should you swear for this? Number one, the question is mashetanai loy haydaloi. What was claimed of what the buyer is claiming from the seller. Loy haydaloi. The seller is not admitting to that. He's saying this large Eved that you said I sold you, that I'm kaifer akail. I didn't sell you at all. I sold you something else. And what he's admitting, that he never asked for. He never claimed. I never claimed that the small Eved that is mine. So this is not Maida b'miktzas. When the Taina and the Haidah is two totally different things, so it shouldn't apply here. Another problem with this is why there's no Maida b'miktzas here. Heilachu. This is a case of Heilach we had before in the Masechta, when you're being Maida to a part, and that part you're being Maida to, you're giving right now. So the seller is saying, here's the Evet cotton that I sold you. This is what I sold you. So since you're giving it right now, there's no halacha of Maida b'miktzas. The third question, the rule is, Ein nishboin alo avodim. The shvua of Maida b'miktzas does not apply when the argument is regarding avodim, similar to the halacha of karkais. You learn out from the pasuk regarding the shvua of Maida b'miktzas. The Gemara learns it out from a drasha that there's no shvua on a karka. Avodim is compared to karkais, and there's no shvua on avodim either. So there can't be any shvua min atayra of Maida b'miktzas here for these three reasons. So the Gemara answers, Omar Rav. So Rav explained what's going on over here is b'toyanoi demei eved gadol, demei eved cotton, or b'toyanoi domi demei eved gadol, demei eved cotton. What we're talking about over here is, we're not talking about not the Eved and not a large Eved, not a small Eved. And we're not even, according to Rashi, we're not even talking about a buyer and a seller. What we're talking about is a person that gave money to a shliach, and he told him, go buy me a large Eved. And now, he never bought him the large Eved, and now the Meshaleach asks the shliach back for the money. And the shliach says, here's the money. And he gives him back less money, only the price of the Evet cotton. And he says, this is the money that you're giving back to me. I gave you much more money. I gave you money to buy an Evet gadol. So he says, no, you only gave me money to buy an Evet cotton. So this is a case of a Maida b'miktzas. And it's Maida b'miktzas and the same money. It's not different. It's not mashatanai haidaloi. He gave him $10,000, and he says, no, I'm giving you back only $8,000 because you only gave me $8,000, and it's a haidam minat taina, and there's no halach because he doesn't have the money here right now. He says, I'm maida that you gave me $8,000, and I'll bring you the money. He doesn't have the money here right now, and it's not a haidam on the eved itself; it's money. So therefore, this is a case of maida b'miktzas. Or the same thing when the Mishnah said the Demei Sadeh Gedaila and Demei Sadeh Ketana. The same thing regarding the field. He gave a shliach to buy him a large field, and the shliach says, no, you only gave me less money to buy a smaller field. That's what the Mishnah is talking about. Shmuel says, B'toyanoi ksus evet gadol, ksus evet cotton. That the case of our Mishnah is that it's the garment. Here, this is an argument between a buyer and a seller, where the buyer says that I bought from you a larger ksus, a larger garment for the size of an Evet gadol, and he says, no, I sold you only a smaller garment which is the size of Evet cotton. And the same thing regarding the property, oimrei sadeh gedaila, the grain or the sheaves of a larger field, or oimrei sadeh ketana, or from a smaller field. So this answers why it's not a shvuah which is on the eved itself or on the sadeh itself, which over there's no shvuah for that, but the shvuah is on a garment or on the grain that's there in the field. Okay, but the Gemara explains, but it still doesn't, according to this answer, it still doesn't fully answer the question that we asked. Why? Because what was one of the questions? That what was being claimed is not what you will made. It's two different things. So that question still remains a question. That question still remains a question. The other two questions are answered. It's not a shvuah on the karka itself, it's not a shvuah on the eved, it's on the ksus, on the garment or on the grain, and it's also not halach because that garment and grain is not here, he's not giving it right now. But still, what was claimed is not what he admitted to, and what he admitted is not what was claimed. So how's the answer to that question? So the Gemara answers, Keda'amar Rav Papa later over here says that b'diyalfi, or the Bachas Gair is b'delaifu. We're talking over here about a garment, which is one large garment that you can cut it and cut a portion of that garment and use it to wrap yourself. If you have a smaller body, you cut a portion from that garment and you wrap yourself. If you have a larger body, so then you wrap yourself with the entire garment. So over here, what he claimed from him is, I bought from you this entire garment, which is a larger size. And he's answering him, no. You only bought from me a smaller portion of it, and I'm going to cut for you just a smaller portion for you. So it is a taina and a haidah in the same garment. Do I owe you the entire garment or only a portion of it? So therefore, this is a perfect case of ma'ida b'miktsas. Okay, so the Gemara asks on this pshat here, kashuli l'Rav Yishia, that is. Rabbi Yishia asked on this pshat that Shmuel said, midi. Midi ksus ketani, evet ketani. How could you say when the Mishnah says that they're arguing about the large evet, the small evet? How could you say it means the garment? It says in the Mishnah ksus. It says the garment. It's evet again. It says in the Mishnah evet that they're arguing about the slave himself, not about a garment. So how can we add this word into the Mishnah? And the same shaila is on Rav's pshat that says that we're arguing about the money. Where does it say the Mishnah money? They're arguing about the evet himself. So therefore Rav Yishia says the pshat in our Mishnah is as follows: The case over here is that the buyer says that you sold me a large evet with the clothing, with the larger size clothing that he's wearing, and the seller says, no, I sold you a smaller evet with the small size clothing that he's wearing. And the same with the property. I sold you a larger field with the grain that's in it, or the smaller field with less grain in it. So what's the point that we're saying over here? Regarding the evet himself or the property itself, there's no shvuah for that. But for the clothing and for the grain, which are metaltalin, that there is a shvuah for. So once you make a shvuah for the garment and for the grain that's in the field, so you magalgal the shvuah, as we learned already before, that once you chayiv a shvuah on one thing, so then even for something else, that independently there would not be no chayiv shvuah, but once you have to swear for one thing, you have to swear for even something else as well. It can be magalgal the shvuah. So here he's going to have to swear about the garment and also about the evet itself. That's the pshat of here. Okay, but the Gemara still clarifies this answer, going back to the same point that we said before. But still, the question that what was claimed and what was minded to is not the same thing at all. That still remains a question. Because the larger garment and the smaller garment is a totally different thing, a totally different item. So how could you consider this to be ma'ida b'miktsas? So here the Gemara says, here's where Rav Papa said his statement, Amar Rav Papa b'diyalfi, or again the Bachas Gair is b'delaifu, that we're talking over here about a garment which is the same garment. It's just a matter of whether it's large and it's on the body of this larger evet, or it's a portion of the garment which is the garments of the smaller evet. You could cut a piece for it for the smaller evet. So therefore it's the same garment, and therefore this is a case where regarding the garment, it's ma'ida b'miktsas. So the Gemara asks on this, Kashi le'le Rav Sheshis. Rav Sheshis asked on this pshat of Rav Yishia, what does it come out of here? What's the chiddush of the Mishnah is saying? Really, the Mishnah is saying the halacha of a shvuah of ma'ida b'miktsas. What's unique though about this shvuah of ma'ida b'miktsas? That in this case, once you swear for the garment, so then even though usually you don't swear in an eved, you're going to be megalgal the shvuah, and you're going to swear on the eved as well. That's what it seems like the chiddush of the Mishnah is. So if so, Rav Sheshes asks, Are you coming to teach me the halacha of zaykikin? The word zaykikin is another term for this halacha of gilgul shvua. Zaykikin, that you drag along, that you bring along, that once you're swearing for one thing in the argument, so then you're going to be zaykik and you apply the shvua to another thing, even though l'chatchila you wouldn't be swearing on that. Is that what the whole chiddush of the Mishnah here is? But that's the Mishnah Kedushin. Tanin, the Mishnah Kedushin said, zaykikin anachasim she'en lem achrayis, es anachasim she'yesh lem achrayis t'shav aleim. When you have properties in your possession that have no achrayis, this refers to movable items that can go anywhere and there's no responsibility over them. So once you swear for that, then you're going to be responsible. Now you're going to be obligated to swear even for properties which yesh lam achrayis, which is real properties that remain where they are. So this halacha of gilgul shvua, it clearly says in the Mishnah in Kedushin. Why would the Mishnah be repeating the same thing? So therefore now the Gemara tries a completely different shot in our Mishnah. Elam Rav Sheshe. So therefore Rav Sheshe says, we can say as follows. Hamani Rab Meir hi. Our Mishnah follows the opinion of Rab Meir. So the Gemara is going to answer all three questions that it asked before, that seemingly this can't be a shva of Bava Metzia. And the Gemara starts with the question of, how could you be swearing on an eved if an eved is like karka and you don't swear ever on an eved? So Rav Meir holds the Omar Avda Kimetaltalin Dami, that an eved actually is not compared to karka. Eved has the halacha like metaltalin, it's a movable item, and you do swear in it. That answers the first question. Now, another question, or one of the questions we asked before. Another question the Gemara asked, that va'akati mashatanoi loy hoidoloi mashahoidoloi loy tanoi. The claim and what you agree to is not the same item b'chlal. So how is there a shvua of Bava Metzia here? The answer to that is there is an opinion that says that there is shvua of Bava Metzia in this case. Savala Rabbi Gamliel, the Tan of our Mishnah holds like Rabbi Gamliel's opinion, that says, the Tanan, as we learned in the Mishnah in Shavuos, that says, according to Rabbi Gamliel, Ta'anai chitim. If you're claiming from someone that he owes you a certain amount of wheat, v'haidalai beside him, and you're admitting that I owe you less, and I owe you less in what? In barley. So the Tanakama there says potter, for the reason that we're saying the whole time, because what was claimed you don't admit to at all, and what you're admitting was never claimed from you. So you're a kaifer akayl. It's a whole different thing. Rabbi Gamliel mechayev. Rabbi Gamliel says no, you are chayev. You have to look at the value of it. Don't look at the specific, at the fact that it's this is wheat and this is barley. Look at the value of it. He's claiming from you wheat in the value of $1,000, and you're agreeing to barley and the value of $500. So therefore, it is a Bava Metzia. That answers this question, that we're following Rabbi Gamliel's opinion. Another point, the third question we asked before, akati heilechu, isn't this still a case of heilech, because what he's admitting to, he's giving to him right over here? Amarove, so the answer is, in the case in our Mishnah, when it spoke about the eved, that the seller is admitting that, yeah, I sold you a smaller eved. What kind of eved are we talking about? Avde the kota leyode. The seller is saying, I only sold you the smaller eved, and that smaller eved that he admits that he sold, he amputated his hand. So it's not even a full eved that he's giving him. Then he's going to have to now pay him the value for that hand that he's not giving him. So therefore, it's not a case of halach. He's not giving it to him all right now. And v'sadeh, in our Mishnah where it said that they're arguing about a smaller field, a larger field, similar over here, when the seller is admitting that I sold you the smaller field, that he's not giving him the field in a good condition. He dug in the field and destroyed the quality of the property of the field, so he's going to have to now reimburse him for the difference of he sold him a good property, and what does the buyer see in front of him? A property that's totally destroyed. So he's going to have to pay him the difference. So therefore, he's not giving it to him right now. So it's not halach. Okay, so therefore we answered all questions here that we're talking about according to Rab Meir, Rabbi Gamliel, and it's not halach because he's not giving it to him as is right now. Okay, but there's one detail though that will be a problem with this answer. Because this halacha that we're saying, that according to Rab Meir, eved is not compared to karka, and therefore you swear even regarding an argument of an eved. But there was another case in the Mishnah though. There's karka in the Mishnah, there's soda in the Mishnah. Does Rab Meir hold that you swear even on a karka? One second, before we get to that, the Gemara first questions Rab Meir's opinion regarding the eved itself. You're saying that Rab Meir holds that an eved is not compared to karka, but we see in a Mishnah where Rab Meir is actually the one that says that we do compare an eved to a karka. There is an argument about this, and Rab Meir is the one that says that an eved is like a karka. Because the Tnan, we learned in the Mishnah in Bava Kama regarding Gzela. If you steal an animal v'eskina, and the animal's condition physically changed, it became old, and avodim, or you stole someone's avodim, and v'eskinu, and they also, their body, they changed, it became older. So what value do you have to pay? Do you have to pay the value of what they were when you stole them, or the value of what they are now when they became older? So the halacha, the Tanna Kama says, is mishalem k'shas gzeila. You have to pay what it was at the time of the gzeila. And this is the halacha based on the fact by any gzeila, when there's a shinui that happens in the body of what you stole, so you're kainet because of that shinui. And now you have to pay the money, which is the value of what it was at the time of the gzeila. That's by metaltalin, when you steal something. But Rab Meir says, ba'avodim, regarding avodim, you give him back the Eved in his condition as it is today, because there is no shinui that you kind it with, and then you just give back the value of what it was before. And the reason is because the Eved is like a karka. And just like a karka, you can't steal a karka. If you occupy someone's karka, it is what it is. You give it back to him as it is here. There's no halacha of a kinyan of a gzela and a karka. And a mayor is saying, Eved is the same like karka, that even after the Eved becomes older, you just give him back the Eved as is, just like karka. So we clearly see here that Rab Meir holds that the Eved is like karka. So how are we saying before that according to Rab Meir, you swear regarding an argument in an Eved because the Eved is not like karka? So this question the Gemara answers, that's not our problem. Because we can say that the Machlif Rabbi Baravua switched the opinions of this Mishnah that we just quoted. And Vitani, and he taught in the Mishnah, Rab Meir Rab Meir is the one that says regarding the Eved, that an Eved is like metaltalin, and therefore you pay like the value of what the Eved was when you stole it. The Chacham were the ones that say, that by an Eved is like a karka, and therefore you just give it back as is in its condition then. So that's not the problem. Hello, what is the question? And here we come to the question that I mentioned before, that in our Mishnah, it talks not only about an Eved, it talks also about a karka. And our Mishnah is saying that you make a shvur regarding karka. So now our question is, Mimai Desavar Rab Meir, how do you know to say that Rab Meir now holds, if you want to apply your pshat in our Mishnah, you're going to have to say that Rab Meir holds that makshinon karka le'eved, that we compare a karka to an eved, and that is ma eved nishboin, just like a eved is metaltalin, and you swear on an argument regarding this eved of karka nishboin, that the same thing would be regarding the karka that you swear regarding the karka that they're arguing about. Dilme, maybe it's the other way around. A eved hud, or maybe we actually say as follows: a eved hud nishboin. When there's an argument about which Eved was sold, there's a shvuah, because Rab Meir does not compare an Eved to karka. He considers an Eved to be a movable item. Avala karka loy. But when it comes to karka, Rab Meir agrees to the drasha that the Gemara learns out regarding karkois, that there's no shvuah on karkois. So our question will still remain, even if our Mishnah is Rab Meir, why does our Mishnah say regarding the argument, regarding the size of the property that was sold, that's ma'id b'miktzas and you swear in this? So the Gemara says, no, loisol kedaita. You can't say this. Why? Because the Tanya, we learned in the Braise, here, Braise is similar to our Mishnah, but over here, what does the Braise say? Hamachlef para b'chamayr, so two people that were switching a cow for a donkey, and v'yolda, and it gave birth. Or v'chein, amayche shivchasa v'yolda, a person sold his maidservant, and it gave birth. Zeh oime b'rishusi, v'zeh shaisek. So one of them says it was born in my possession, and the other one is quiet. So Zacha. So the one that says it was born in his possession is Zaycha. If each one says, I don't know, according to one opinion before, that was the case of our Mishnah as well, so then we split it between them. If each one says that it was born in my possession, each one saying a tiniest body, it was born in my possession, Yishava hamayche shebrishusa yolda. So over here in this Braise it says that the seller swears that it was born in his possession, and therefore he says, I only have to give you the cow. I don't have to give you the vlad. Or I only have to give you the maidservant without the vlad. And the reason is, the Tanna Kama says, and this is Rab Meir actually, anytime you swear in Titus, what Rab Meir is coming to explain is, why are we saying that the seller should swear? Maybe the buyer should swear? So the reason is because anytime Titus says that you have to swear, who's the one that swears? The one that is claiming that I don't owe you the money. He wants to keep the money in his possession. He's the one that swears to pater himself. The buyer that's claiming and he wants to get money, he wants to be mighty money from you, he doesn't swear. Divrei Rab Meir, this is Rab Meir's opinion. So Rab Meir over here in this Mishnah is applying the Shvuah of Maida B'Miktsas. Why? Because in this case, it's basically an argument where the Meicher is a Maida B'Miktsas, because the buyer is claiming, you owe me the Para and the Vlad, the Shivcha and the Vlad. And the seller is saying, no, I only owe you the Para itself. I only owe you the Shivcha itself without the Vlad. So Rab Meir is saying that there's a halacha of Maida B'Miktsas over here that he has to swear. Now in that, the Brisa says, V'chachamim ma'imrim, Chachamim say, Einish bo'en, lo yala avodim, v'lo yala karkais. You don't swear in this case. There's no shvuah of Maida B'Miktsas here. Why? Because there's no shvuah not for avodim and not for karkais. That's what Chachamim say. So Chachamim, when they respond to Rab Meir to explain that you don't swear, the Chachamim put both together. You don't swear not on avodim and not on karkais. From that, the Gemara wants to be medayik. So shouldn't you say that Rab Meir, which argues with the Chachamim that put both avodim and karka together, Miklau, from this we can understand that Rab Meir holds that nishbain, that you do swear on both avodim and on karkais, even though the actual case of what Rab Meir was saying here in this brisa that you swear was only about avodim, not about karkais. But from the fact that the Chachamim are saying that you don't swear not on avodim, not on karkais, shouldn't we understand that Rab Meir holds that you do swear on both of them? So therefore the Gemara is suggesting we could say also regarding our Mishnah that our Mishnah is Rab Meir, and Rab Meir holds you swear both on avodim and on karkais. But the Gemara rejects this raya. Says the Gemara, Mimai, how do you know that Rab Meir holds you swear on karka? Dilma, maybe when the Chachamim are bringing up both together, avodim and karkais, what are they trying to say here? Kishem kamrulei. They're trying to prove Rab Meir that he's wrong. They're saying to Rab Meir, just like. What does it mean, just like? Kiheichi de oidis lon. They're telling Rab Meir, just like you would admit to us, the karkais, regarding karkais, that here everybody agrees that you don't swear on karka, that's a limit from a pasuk. Oidi lo nami ba'avodim. You should agree to us regarding avodim that are compared to karkais that you don't swear as well. But really, Rab Meir holds you don't swear on karkais. So our question still remains a question. How could you say our Mishnah is Rab Meir, even if that fits regarding avodim? But in our Mishnah it says you swear on karkais as well. And Gemara brings a raya to this. I'll prove to you that Rab Meir holds that on karka itself you don't swear. Teida, the raya for this is because it's nan. We learned in the Mishnah. Rab Meir says yesh dvarim she'en kekarka. There are things that are like karka, but ve'enan kekarka, but it will not actually have the halacha of karka. And ve'en chachamim meidim loy. And the chachamim disagree with him. What are we talking about? Keitzad, what's the case? Yud gefanim to unais masarti loch. If a person says to somebody, I gave you over to take care for me, to guard for me, 10 vines which have full grapes on them. And this person says, no, there were only 5. You only gave me 5 to take care of. Okay, so he's a Maida B'Miktsas. So in this case, Rab Meir says that he's admitting to part, he's a Maida B'Miktsas, he's chayav to make a shvuah. The Chachamim say there's no shvuah in such a case. Because since they're arguing about the grapes that are attached to the vines, so it's connected to the ground, that has the halacha like karka, so you don't make a shvuah in such a case. Now, what is the basis of Rab Meir's opinion in this case that you do make a shvuah, even though it's mechuber to the karka? Now, in this Mishnah, Rabbi Yisir Bar Chanina explained, the basis of their argument is, we're talking over here about grapes that are still on the vines, but it's totally ripe. It's ready to be cut. That's what they're arguing about. The Marsava, Rab Meir's opinion is kibutzures damyan, because they're totally ripe and they're ready to be cut. When this person, you gave it over to him to take care of it, it's like you gave him cut grapes to take care of you. So if he's being Maida B'Miktsas on this, so then he's Maida B'Miktsas on grapes that are like already cut. But the Chachamim say no, lav kibutzures damyan, even though it's totally ripe yet, but it's still connected to the ground, even though it doesn't need the nourishment of the ground anymore, but it's not like it's cut yet, and therefore you're going to be potter of a shvuah. So what's the point the Gemara is proving from here? You see that even Rab Meir agrees you don't make a shvuah on karka. That case is an exception because the grapes that are still connected to the ground, it's like they're cut already. But otherwise, Rab Meir agrees, and this is something everybody agrees to, you don't make a shvuah on karka. So therefore, the Gemara is asking on Rav Sheshes, how could Rav Sheshes say that our Mishnah, we can answer our Mishnah that it's Rab Meir, but our Mishnah says you make a shvuah even on karka. So the Gemara goes back to the answer that it said before this, Lo'ilam k'der Rabbi Shia. Go back to the answer that Rabbi Shia said. What was the answer Rabbi Shia said? That the argument between the buyer and the seller here is that he says, you sold me a eved with his garment, you sold me the karka with the grain in it, so the shvuah is for the garments, and then there's the gilgul shvuah on the eved himself, or on the grain, and then the gilgul shvuah is on the karka itself. That's the answer of Rabbi Shia. Ve the kashilach, you had the question, zaykikin, it's trich. Do you have to teach me this halacha that once you swear on one thing, that you could also drag along and swear on something else? We taught that already in a Mishnah in Kedushin. What would be the Chiddush of a Mishnah? So the Gemara answers, no. Again, with the kashilach zaykikin. So the Gemara answers, it's trich. No, you have to explain over here, there's a Chiddush in our Mishnah, because Salke daita chamene, in our Mishnah we think to say, ksus eved ke eved dami. That when they're arguing about an eved which is wearing his garments, he's wearing his garments. You don't consider this to be an argument about the garments. They're arguing about the eved. The eved is not he's wearing clothing, but really it's they're arguing about an eved. And same thing, oimrei sadek sadek dami. When there's sheaves in the field, it's like they're really arguing about the field itself. And therefore, there should be no shvuah here at all, because there's no shvuah on a karka and an eved. And the garments or the grain is bottled to the field or to the eved himself. Kamash Malon, that's the Chiddush of our Mishnah, that no, we separate, we say that there is a shvuah for the garments or for the grain, and then from there, you can then swear on the karka itself. The Gemara just goes back now to one detail that it said in the Braisa that was quoted before. When they're arguing about the shifcha or the para that gave birth, and each one says eni yedeya, the Mishnah says yachloiku. So Hamani, whose opinion of this brayse is similar to what we said before regarding the Mishnah. Sumchesi, this is sumche is the oma maman amutl b'safik chalken. Anytime there's money in doubt, and they're arguing that you divide it. Okay, but now the Gemara asks on this brayse, but Emes Seife, what did it say afterwards in this brayse? And each one says, was born in my possession. So then the Meicha has to swear that it was born in his Rishus. Why? Because in this case, he's a Maida b'miktsas. He wants the buyer says that you owe me two things. You owe me the shifcha and the vlad, or the para and the vlad. And the Meicha says, no, I owe you only the para without the vlad, or the shifcha without the vlad. So this is a Maida b'miktsas. But the question is, Rabbe baravone the Omar in Omar sumches afilu body body, that according to sumches, the halach of Yachleiku applies not only in the case where the Brisa says Eini Yedeya, the Shem of Shema, even in a case where it's body, the halach of Yachleiku applies as well. Amai Yishava. Why is it saying here that there's a shvuah of Maida b'miktsas? You should say Amai Yishava Meicha, that is. Why is the Meicha swearing? Yachleiku mi bayale. That is. The halacha should be that you split it. So again, the Gemara answers similar to what it answered in Amar Aleph. Maida sumchis, in this case, sumchis would not say yachleiku. Sumchis admits over here that you have to swear, since this is a shvuah min atayre, so you have to swear in this case. It's a shvuah of Maida b'miktsas. And Rashi clarifies that in this case, the Gemara before in Amar Aleph asked the Shaila that there's a halacha of that mashatana lehoidolei, that when you're being maida to something that wasn't claimed from you, so then there's no halacha of maida b'miktsas. So Rashi says you can't argue that over here, because over here the para and the vlad, the shifcha and the vlad is considered to be one thing, one min. It's like one long thing, one big thing. So therefore it's considered to be that the claim and the haidah is in the same thing. And the Gemara adds another detail which it asked on Amar Aleph, and that is that it's something which is halach, that the seller is saying, what I admit to, I'm giving you right now, as we already explained before, or the kotele, that no, the seller amputated the hand of the eved or the hand of the vlad, and therefore it's not, what he's saying I owe you is not fully here, or the hand of the potter actually, the hand of the potter, and therefore it's kederove. Like we said before, it could go according to Rava. Like Rava answered this before already. Okay.
Why have to say the kotele? Just say